Hey guys, I'm gonna go over the colors with you really quick before we get started. I used quite a handful in this one. Just your basics are nutmeg, which is just like a lighter brown than burnt umber. So nutmeg, white and black. And then same thing I always tell you guys, you can choose whatever colors you want to for your flower colors. I used bright magenta, watermelon slice, coral, primary yellow, and then just as accents, there's just a tiny bit of these in there. I used the purple pansy and the orchid. So those are all of my flower colors. And then for the greenery, I just used grass green and lush foliage. Any green, like the dark Hauser green and the light Hauser green, those will work great too. For the bike, I used bluegrass green. There's also a peacock teal in deco art that is really similar. So either one of those, if you want that bright color. And then for the background, we did white and robin's egg blue with, this one's periwinkles, or Blue Harbor is what I think I had put on your list. They are super similar in color, so whichever one you happen to grab, they're pretty close. I'm gonna see if I have I think Blue Harbor might just be slightly darker. So those are my colors that I'm using, and then I use 2 different size palette knives. This is a number 1, and I think this is maybe a 4. I think I painted over top of that, but just a longer one and a littler one, a smaller one. Yeah, so I tried to think, I don't think I even used a really wide brush for this. I think I just used like a decent size round. You could do that, or if you had, sometimes I just use angled brushes because I have them around, but they're good for like filling in also. So you could use an angled or a flat to fill in the bicycle. So I'm gonna pull you guys up really quick, make sure I'm not missing any comments here. Does the view look okay to you guys? I feel like we're a little tilted. See if that's better. That cut the screen. Try not to cut the edge off. Not that there's much for you to really see there, but just to give you, yeah, I think that's pretty good. So obviously this is the original. I'm gonna set that up here. This is the one we are doing tonight. So if you haven't done a transfer before, I saw a couple people ask how to do that. And I'm just using a small example to show you, and I'm going to be able to cover this up, so I'm not worried about it being on my canvas. So with transfer paper, you put the black side down and then just put this over top of it. And then it leaves whatever you trace over behind. If you don't have transfer paper, you can also just scribble pencil all over the back of this and do the same thing. So you can use that for doing your outline. So to get started, we are gonna grab some of the Blue Harbor and the robin's egg blue and the white. Move painting up a little. I might need to, can you guys see the bottom of that? There we go, that's good. Hey Lisa and Jane, Linda. All right, so we'll start with those 3 colors, and I don't get all my colors on the palette at the same time when I'm at home because I don't have to. If I was doing a paint night for this, I'd be getting a lot more paint colors on their plates for them. But for this, we are just going to start with our background colors first. I'm going to use my larger palette knife, and I'm going to scoot this back down for right now because all I'm doing is the background, and you guys don't need to see the bottom, and then I don't have to worry about getting it up there. So you can add gel medium to this if you want to, but I'm just going straight into the paint, and I'm just going to start scraping it on. You can decide what color you like the most. Scrape a little white in there with it. So I just try to be really random. This is all going to be covered up. I'm not even going to worry about that. But the Robin's Egg Blue is my main color, and then the Blue Harbor is more of an accent. But if you want to change that and make it opposite of that, you can definitely do so. Now, I am not going to worry about running over my lines. I'd rather go over my lines a little bit than to have it look like I purposely avoided them when the painting's finished. And again, I'm not really worried about going above my basket too much because that's going to have so many flowers filled in. Now, when you're doing this, you want to go ahead and do your sides as well. I am not, for the sake of time, going to do that. You guys don't need to see me paint my sides. And you can even just do the 2 shades of blue first if you wanted, and then come back and streak some white in if you feel like the white's getting too mixed in with your colors. So see, just the different ways I'm dragging my palette knife give me a different look. Can do short little messy strokes or longer, bigger ones. Pull it side to side. That's why I love this kind of backgrounds, because there is no right or wrong. I'm gonna need some more Robin's Egg Blue here, but I definitely recommend getting more than one color on your knife at the same time because it does the work for you. Get a little bit more of my Robin's Egg in here. This probably will always be one of my favorite colors of paint. I don't know how many paintings I've used it in. A lot. So again, just make sure you're getting everything filled in. We don't want to leave any white showing from behind. We don't want to look like we avoided our lines and have like a little border there. And you don't have to be really thick with this background. If you do end up with some thick spots, that's fine. But it doesn't need to be thick and standing up like a heavy texture, unless you just want it that way. Then by all means you can. Try to have variation in the sizes of your strokes. So I don't want everything to look identical. A lot of times when we go back and add those white accents on, they all end up just like looking like the same size. So have some big pulls, some short ones. Make sure you don't see any patterns or something that looks too similar throughout your entire painting. You should see lots of variation and not a lot of repeating in your background. Embrace the messiness of it. So I'm just getting it on my tip here and just kind of lightly dragging for those smaller areas. You'll still be able to see, like once I put that transfer on, I forgot to mention that, once I get it on, it's obviously going to be in pencil or graphite. And then I outline on top of that with Sharpie, so when I do it, I don't completely lose my lines. Okay, so that is step one. Just get that filled in. If you see a few areas, go back. All right, so I'm gonna just stick that in my water. And I'm actually gonna do, I think I did this in the opposite order when I taught it locally. But I'm gonna go ahead and do some of my greenery so that it's completely dry when I do my flowers and I don't have to worry about it. So for this, I used my smaller palette knife, and I kind of showed you guys this in the technique week. We just want some of that background color in there. So I'm not worried if it pulls in. I've got some blue there, that's fine. I'm not worried about if it pulls in some of that. And this is just to get a base color. This is not supposed to look like anything right now. And I just want it basically up to the basket edge, and then we can add more details and add more greenery coming out later. Maybe add some under this handlebar. I know I'm gonna have plenty of green up there. We'll come out about that far. And then I have a little bit above. So again, nothing fancy, not supposed to look like anything. We just want variation in color there. We want to see both, I'm having problems talking. We want to see both shades of green, the nice variation in there. Hey Linda, I am glad you asked that. Today was crazy because my dog ran away for the third time this morning, so my morning kind of went haywire. My plan was to send you guys that link this morning, and that didn't happen. And then we went straight to swim lessons and then shopping with my girls today. So I will get that email sent out to you tonight, and it will have the link to sign up for my Inner Tribe, which is my painting membership. And you guys will have until Sunday night at midnight to sign up, and then I will close the doors. So I will post the link in the group, and I'm also going to post it in the 5-day challenge because I had a few people miss from when I put it in there. So I'll post it in both the 5-day challenge and this group, so you may see it twice, and then I'm also going to send it out in an email. And that, again, is $47 a month, and that is 3 paintings per month with me, as well as a technique week, where any problems you've had throughout the month working on something, I basically just go over it with you and have you submit your paintings, and then I help you correct them side by side. So it's been very, very helpful for a lot of the students in there. So thank you for asking. I will get that out to you. Okay. All right, so this is all still drying, but we can keep moving along. So for my bike, I've just got the bluegrass green, and all you're doing is just filling this in. This is like paint by number right now. You're just filling in your design. I actually like it to pick up a little bit of my blues, because if they're still wet, it's just gonna pull some highlights and lowlights into that green. And I want you to do these in light coats. So I don't want you to get your paint thick and gloppy on here, okay? I want nice thin coats so that your paint dries the way it's supposed to and you don't end up fighting it, because it makes it a lot harder when you get those really thick areas of paint. They take forever to dry, even with a blow dryer sometimes. And we just need nice thin coats going down. So this, if you get a big enough round brush, that's perfect, because you can put your full pressure, load it up with paint, and you can just go back and forth. Kind of like when you're painting your nails. You can flip it over and get the other paint out of the other side. All right, there we go. Hey ladies, hey Pam. So have you guys had fun in the boot camp so far? I called it spring floral, but it kind of almost, well, technically I guess it did for me going to summer. We're talking about next year how we want to do our calendar and plan our boot camps, and I think I'm only going to do 2. I think I'm going to do one in January, and I'm going to do one in probably October. So there will be another boot camp coming up. It'll either be October or early November, or maybe, a combination of those two. And it is going to be holiday themed, so it's going to be so much fun. And then obviously if you're in Tribe, you're getting holiday themed paintings as well. And then as a Tribe member, if you guys decide to join Tribe, once you join, and as long as you are a member, you get 50% off everything that I offer to the public. So every boot camp, kids art camp, all that stuff, you guys get it 50% off. So it saves you tons of money. If you enjoy the paintings and you're going to want to do them, it is definitely worth being a Tribe member. Your membership pays for itself in the money that it's going to save you on the next boot camp alone. So this is pretty simple so far, right? Good, Pam. I'm glad you like it. So after I do this with you guys tonight, we are doing dinner, and then I get to take my kids to see The Life of Pets 2, which I'm super excited about because I'm as much of a kid as they are. And the first one was so funny. So we're all gonna go see that tonight. All right, so I have got my first coat of green on there. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into my black next. So you guys can kind of see, this is when the transfers are on here like this, they're kind of more like paint by number. It makes it pretty simple, which this is why I do this for all the kids' classes, because it takes the complication out of it for them. So again, nothing fancy here. I'm just filling this in with black at the very, actually not at the very end. After I do this, I'm gonna scrape it up with a palette knife, but I just get my paint on there first, just so it has that same texture. So just filling it in. Most of this, the handles are gonna be covered up with flowers and greenery. Thank you, Pam and Beth. Beth, I think I missed your birthday yesterday, so happy birthday. I saw your post in Tribe, and for some reason it did not correlate as birthday. I didn't wish you happy birthday. I was excited for your gift that you got. Okay, so we've got our handlebars in black, and then our tire. So the tire is about the same width as this, fin, that's not the right word, is it? I'm drawing a blank right now. But this section of the bike, so I'm just following along, similar curve. Don't stress about, this is still really wet. I'm just gonna pull that across. We'll come back and do a second coat of that because it's just turning it gray. But I'm just gonna smooth that out. Don't worry about it overlapping your teal, because when we come back with the palette knife, it'll cover all that up. Fender, thank you. My brain just completely went kaput there. And I'm just curving this off the page here, canvas. And it goes all the way up to the fender. I'm just kind of wiping off the excess paint on my paper towel as I go. So I think I have that. I'm gonna make this a little thicker over here. There we go. That looks more even. I don't think I'm gonna notice this at the end. Right now that's bothering me, but I don't think it's gonna matter in the long haul of things. All right, so I've already got my black on. I'm gonna grab some of my nutmeg. The thing I love about this painting is you don't have to necessarily wait for things to dry or blow dry like we do in some of them, because there's enough things you can move around to the next step on. Oh, I just remembered, I forgot. While this was still wet, no, I'll come back and add a little bit more. We'll rough these up with our palette knife after we get the color on there. So just to fill it in a little bit faster, I'm gonna get some of my nutmeg and black at the same time. Again, I don't like nutmeg right out of the container. I think it's too light of a brown for usually what I want to use it for. So I almost always mix it with a little bit of brown. But it is a completely different tone than burnt umber, which is why I use it. So it has more of that orangey color to it than burnt umber does. So again, I'm just kind of loading up my brush nice and heavy. I do want my paint to be a little thicker on this because I'm gonna come in and scrape it with my palette knife. So I'm gonna get a little bit more black around my edges here. And I'm just gonna see how heavy that brown is. So that's real thick. And then I'm gonna switch to my palette knife and just kind of scrape that around a little bit so it gives us that rough texture. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of white on there, drag that in. You can go back with some of your brown or black if you want some different. I like the bold look of the brown by itself once we've got the darker underneath, so I'm just scooping some of that up. And I am trying to, you know, it's not perfect, but I'm kind of going some like vertical lines like this and then some across to kind of give the illusion of basket weave without it being like too obvious. But I like those chunks of color, that white in there. And then I'm just gonna wipe my brown out of this. Pam, that would be super cute to do a white basket instead of a brown one. You could definitely do that. I'm just gonna get a little more black on my palette knife and the tiniest bit of white. Again, we just want this kind of messy. To kind of match the rest of our painting. That got a little bit of brown in it, but I'm gonna leave it because that's probably gonna have a flower on top of it. So I'm just kind of adding the white around that curve, just a little bit there. Okay, I'm trying to decide what I want to move on to next. This is still a little too wet. We're gonna save the spokes. I think I'm gonna blast this with a blow dryer really quick so we can go ahead and move on to our flowers. I think actually I want to move on to I want to rough up our bike first. That green's still, just because it's thicker, it's still wet in a couple spots. So we are going to use the bluegrass green, so the bike color, which I literally just had and now can't find it. Here we go. So I'm gonna get a little bit more of that because I was almost out, and a little bit of my white next to it. So I'm gonna do a little bit with a paintbrush first and then scrape. So if you look at the originals, you see the dark color, that's our base coat, and then you see kind of like a lighter, mintier color. That's just mixing a little bit of white with that I feel like I just bumped the camera, did I? You guys can see okay? So I'm just taking a little bit, pulling that over to the side. And just mixing myself another, almost like a sea breeze color. And again, I'm gonna do this kind of thicker in a few areas. And I don't want to completely cover my other color, but I want there to be, again, some variation in there. So this is just messy, messy. Doesn't need to be a certain way. Yes, Sherry, I can definitely post those in the group. I was trying to think, you may be able to find them on my Facebook page before I get them posted to here. Because I know I posted all of them. That was not the one I'm looking for. I posted them all on my Facebook page while I was advertising for the boot camp. So I'm gonna do the same thing with my palette knife, get a little bit of that color, a little bit of white, and kind of see how that is. The harder you scrape down, obviously the more color is going to show up. I want this to be in front of the fender, so I'm making sure that my colors show that by creating that line there. And as far as knowing how much to do, it's the same thing I usually tell you guys, just kind of step back and look at it. If you see, you know, good highlights and variation, then you're probably good. The background is Blue Harbor and Robin's Egg Blue with white. And I'm just going to add a little curve down there. And I like to come back, let me get this filled in. And then I like to come back and add some like bolder sections of the white. And then I also come back with black. Okay, so I need to grab a little bit more white. And again, I'm very lightly doing this. I'm not pressing down super hard because I want it to have that texture where it almost like skips across the canvas. I got too much mint mixed in it. I want there to be some just pure white sections too. And then we'll switch to grabbing some black. Just wiping off excess on my palette knife. And now I personally like the black to be a little thicker. So see how this is? Now, if you want it thinner, you can go a little bit lighter. It may seem really bold to you at first when you start, but then when you step away, you're gonna really like the way it looks. So you can hold the palette knife kind of on its side like this if you want some of those skinnier lines. And then, like I said, I like the bigger sections of black too. So you can kind of go back and forth, just kind of drag that across there. And you know, if you get more than what you wanted, just let it dry. You can go back to it. So I'm getting plenty of paint on this side. And if you go outside of the lines a little bit, that's okay. You can just kind of pull it in so it doesn't look totally separate. And it doesn't have to be one solid line all the way down the bike. I'm just going to put a tiny bit there because that's really thick wet paint that I have there. So I'm putting barely any pressure down when I'm doing this. Line these edges just a little bit. And I may come back if I've got it heavier in some spots than I like. I may come back to that. And now I'm going to go back into my tire and do the same thing. This, you know, dried kind of gray because it was wet with the background colors. So I'm just going to go back with my palette knife over the same shape again. And again, this style of painting, we kind of want it to be messy and not perfect. So I'm not even going to worry about my tires being super perfect either. I know, Becky. Becky said she can't believe boot camp is over. It feels like it went really fast. That's why we have Tribe. I've got some fun ideas coming up. I know we're doing a Florida sunset in July, and I know we're doing a barn scene that I had done on palette board a few years ago. And this month, if you guys join, you obviously get this month and anything we've had prior to that. This month we, I've already posted our summer lemonade, and Amanda Hilburn, if you guys follow her, is a guest artist in my group this month. And she is teaching farm animals. And I haven't posted them yet, but you guys are getting to do the most adorable flying pig, which sounds really funny, but it's super cute. And then you're getting to do a cow with her. So I'm super excited for you guys to get to see her style of painting, and she's the one who inspired me to start painting with a palette knife. Just gonna add a little bit more since I've got it on here. Why not? Just add a little bit more black in there. So over here, can you guys see that little I'm gonna use my palette knife to scrape off. I got black outside Becky, that's a good idea. You know what I was thinking? I didn't want to decide really on the third thing I was doing. Usually the third week of the month, I do something with the ladies in my tribe that's a little different than just like regular paintings like this. It's, you know, sometimes mixed media, like my angel was, or the last one I did was like a water can with flowers in it, but instead of like pre-designing it ahead of time, I kind of did it with them, which I think is a really good learning experience for you guys to see an artist kind of work through design and composition and all that kind of stuff too. So I decided to start doing that. So the third week, the first 2 weeks of the month are basic tutorials like you guys have been used to in boot camp. And then that third week, we usually do something a little bit different. And I change it every month, what I decide to do in there. But that's a good idea, Becky. What I was gonna say is I wanna wait until I get back from Florida, because I know I've already posted. Now I'm trying to remember. Becky, remind me what I'm doing third. I may save the tall and skinny for my special one in July. Sherry, I am going to post a link in this Facebook group and also email it out to you for you guys to join Tribe. And you will have, from the time I post that until Sunday night at midnight to join us for that. And then the next time I open it will not be until September. Kelly said she's so far behind. Yuck. Driving around a flood. Hey, don't worry about being behind. I always tell my tribers there's no such thing as behind, because we are all literally at a different place. So these aren't going anywhere. You guys will always have them. All right, so I think I fixed my tire pretty good. I may want to fix this little edge down here. Okay, so I'm going to show you a trick with the spokes. I got to find my little credit card. Oh, perfect. Okay. So you can just take any old, this is an old Chuck E. Cheese card. So any old gift card, whatever, any plastic card you have. And I just cut it into a strip because it's easier to handle that way. I'm gonna kind of scrape it off on the side, but I'm just kind of dipping all the way in there. Can you guys see that okay? I wanna make sure I'm holding it in front of the camera. So, and you're gonna have to keep re-dipping it. And then we're gonna start just adding the spokes. So they all come from here and then go up. And they're just gonna keep rotating around. Now, if they don't all, sometimes you have to scrape. I've got dried paint on here, which I think is affecting how my, how it's going on. But you're just gonna keep rotating around. They don't all have to come from the same point. Some may be, and I'm gonna show you in the original, some may be thicker than others, some may be skinnier. So see how they are? Not perfect at all, right? That's what makes the painting look so cool. So try to focus on that when you're working on yours. Yes, thank you, Becky. That's what it is. I have it sketched out already. Yes, we are doing, because they wanted a 4th of July painting, we are doing an Americana bicycle. It's going to be so cute. I can't wait to do it. But I was thinking I'm either going to do it when I get back from Florida and then do it with you guys, or do it with you live like I've done the last two for that third week. Let me know what you prefer, those of you that are in Tribe, or if you're not in Tribe and you're going to join. What do you think you would like better, for me to already have the finished one done, or do you like to see me paint in process and see how I make decisions? I do think that is very helpful. I don't know that I've ever, in all of the classes that I've taken, ever really get to see an instructor work through how they create. And I think there's a huge benefit to that. But I will let you guys decide. Just scrape that around there. On the fly is fun. We tried one where I was facing the camera with the angel, and then I ended up doing it again flat like this. I still think flat's the easiest way for you guys to see what I'm doing. I keep making that a weird angle. Let's go from this way. So what do you guys think of this little trick for the spokes? Pretty cool, right? You're not having to try to paint those skinny little lines. Thank you, Sherry, so much. That's very sweet. I'm glad you are enjoying it. Okay, now we get to go to the fun stuff. The flowers. I'm gonna get a different palette because this one is covered in blues and greens and I don't want to mix. This is dry, so we're gonna start with this. Oh, I still need my greens, don't I? I'll come back. I'll skip my great, not gray. Yeah, Becky, when I first read that, I was like, what's she talking about? And then I thought I forgot to show you a trick in the color gray. You had me for a second. So don't forget, these can be any color you choose. This is just what I picked. All right, what else? We need a coral on here. And I'm gonna come back for the purples. These are my main flower colors. So I've got that watermelon slice, bright magenta coral, primary yellow, and white. And then I've got my greens still over here, which I'm gonna need more of the lush foliage to have my little leaves kind of come out over the top. So again, I showed you these in the practice video. You're just gonna get a little bit of both colors on there, and I know I want one kind of coming out here and maybe another one draped over the front. I like to start at the end and go ahead and put my leaf shape there and then kind of build it backwards. But again, messy is good. Don't worry about trying to make these perfect leaf shapes. For this painting, they don't need to be, because that's not the style that we're doing. You can kind of, more comfortable you get with this, hold your palette knife in different ways, whatever is comfortable for you. I change the angles that I do it at. I want those little points on the end, so if you don't get them and they're a little rounded, just come back and kind of touch them back up. That's probably going to be covered up. And I can always add in more around the edges if I want more greenery coming out. I know I want a leaf to come down here kind of cover that section up of the bike. So I'm gonna start with this watermelon slice, the really bright one. And I know I want one kind of down here. Now I'm doing this with a palette knife right now. You can switch, which I think is the way I showed you guys. That's not the angled brush I want. This is. Let me rinse this angled brush really quick. We'll get our base down first with the angled brush. I think I actually did all of these with the angled brush. I'm so used to doing palette knife, I jumped to it. You can, if you like the palette knife look better, you can definitely do that for these. So I'm using the angled brush. And again, I don't want them all the same size. I'm not worried about that green showing through right now because I know I'm going to come with so much thicker paint on top of it. That's not going to matter. And it kind of gives a nice undertone. See how that kind of just creates a shadow because green's an opposite, so it's just toning down. It's just toning down the flower. Thanks for keeping me on track, Becky. It's hard to paint and talk and read comments at the same time. Okay, my idea for the tall skinny, which will probably be in July because I couldn't remember the Americana bike. What I was thinking is I'm probably going to have some really awesome pictures from Florida, and I would love to do some seascapes from my Florida pictures. And I think that would be, I love ocean scenes on either skinny horizontal or skinny vertical. So that was my idea. Let me know what you guys think. Some more ocean scenes. That was a big request inside the group. So I'm just going to keep filling in. I want to overlap that handle a little bit. I'm going to kind of leave this one. If I do overlap this, I'm going to pull the black back on top of it later. I'm picking up a little bit of, so most of these are the watermelon, but I am picking up every now and then a little bit of that hot pink, just to see how I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between those two. But I'm going to pull that handle back on top if I end up covering it up, because I want these flowers to be coming from behind the handle. Yeah, the short and wide would be cool with the ocean scenes. I'm gonna grab a little coral for this one. Just change it up a little. Maybe I want a little bit more coral in this one too. So you guys see how I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth. There is absolutely no right or wrong to this at all. I really scoop the paint up because I like it real thick. So I'm just kind of scooping up as I'm going. But again, circular shapes, but with not perfect edges. I don't want them to just look like circles. I want to see some curves in the petals. Okay, so that is the base of all of my red, orangey, pinky ones. So my other color of flowers is yellow. You know, I said I wanted to pull that handle back on top, but I kind of like that flower overlapping it instead. I may not pull it back on top. So the yellow is my accent, and I did yellow and a little bit of white. I love that pop of color, and it's fine for it to mix some of that in there. Load it up nice and thick. Let's do this one right here in this opening. I'm not pressing down super hard because I don't want it to mix too much. This is why I like painting flat too, so it doesn't start dripping on me. And I got another one kind of peeking out over here. And I'm not worried about it overlapping this right now because I know I'm going to come back and be adding more to that red flower. What are you thinking for colors that you guys are going to do? Are you going to do the same as me? Or anyone changing it up at all? Okay, so I'm gonna grab some of that dark purple. We'll go ahead and get both these colors on here. And my orchid. And I'm going back to my round for this one. And these are, again, like I said, just kind of background. I just wanted a little bit of contrast. It adds that nice deep color. I love purple, red, and yellow flowers together. It's one of my favorite combinations. So it's not a ton. I put way too much paint on my palette for that. Becky's gonna do more pastels. That'll be pretty. So orchid, these are gonna be a little bit bigger. All right, so now I'm gonna start going back with my accent colors, and you can decide how much of each color you want to add in here. Pull this one on top. And I like to do the white centers just because it gives them a little bit more pop. Oh, pulled a little bit of black in there. We'll have to come back and fix that one later. So just real messy. You can see how quick I'm doing this. Similar to how, you know, obviously I showed you guys in the practice. And it even looks pretty to pull some of the yellow in with some of these colors as well. So what do you guys think so far of this one? Is it fun? You like it? I can't decide if I want to pull that handle out or not. This in my centers here. Thanks, Becky. I do too. It is fun to kind of bounce back and forth. You don't have to always pick one style. It might be pretty. I'm going to take a little bit of this deep purple. See if I want to mix that in anywhere. I'm not sure. I think I actually want, I'm going to grab a little bit of red. Just to have another warmer color in there. It's a little bit, watermelon is reddish, but it's still got some pink in it. I like to have a little bit of red contrast in here too. So you could do anything with these. I'm gonna come into my white. I want my centers to stand out a little bit here. Thank you, Sherry. So I think I just need, that white I'm using is too thick. I'm gonna get some of my regular white and just pull a couple, yeah, that's what I want. A couple brush strokes of my white in here too. Okay, and then the last thing I did was my little white dots that I love. The back of your brush. They're always good filler. I can't wait to see these and what colors you guys use. And you can always use different background color and everything. And my paint is still pretty thick while I'm doing this, so just kind of be careful when you're laying your colors down. I've just got some coral left over here that just really seemed to be telling me it needed to be in my painting. Maybe a little hot pink up here. I do think I am going to pull that handle back out. You know, I was debating on this, but I think it almost is getting lost in there a little too much. And this looks too dark. I'm gonna put a little more nutmeg on there. So these are just the little tweaks that you just kind of see at the end after things have dried a little bit, where you want to go back and maybe change it up. Yeah, I like that better. Oh, and I want to do some of the white scrapes around my tire. See how quick that adds just that extra element by doing that? It pulls it into the rest of the painting. It adds texture and interest to it. And I'm not worried about those little black scrapes there. I think all that kind of stuff just adds to the painting. All right, girls, I'm gonna call her done. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I cannot wait to see them in the group. So I will post the links for Tribe in just a few minutes for you. All right, bye.